Hi, I'm Reba from the Mystery Box Show. Today's storyteller shared a story with us on one of our recent live streams, and we're delighted to bring her story to you today. Please welcome Heather Marcus.
I was driving down the highway feeling sexy as hell. It was mid-October and I had the sunroof of my sports little tooling around car down, and I just was loving life. I was on my way to my job as a college government professor. I was 28 years old. I still felt like a kid, but I was really confident knowing that I had put in the work to deserve to be there. And to be honest with you, I was just a walking, talking lady boner because everything about life was a turn on. And that included my kick ass girlfriend, Lainey. We had met, and there were fireworks immediately. I loved this blonde Wednesday Addams that had this dark sense of humor, but really loved the outdoors. And the color of her eyes, I couldn't even get over it. They're this grayish blue that I had never seen before. And there was something in them that I knew that I had to explore. And we built our connection. It was something that our brains were trying to catch up to something that our souls already knew. And that translated over to the first night that we spent together. We were at our apartment playing our favorite classic rock songs and just making sweet, sweet love. There, there was, it's hard to explain how amazing it was. At one point in time, I left my body and watched myself enjoy this person that I had known from some previous lifetime. And we built an amazing connection because of everything that we had worked on. We had exposed parts of our soul to each other to the point that we knew that we could be vulnerable with our clothes off, with our minds open, with everything that was going on. And I replay that all the time, seeing her skin. It's so smooth, like butter. I just wanted to like, no, 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 put her on a piece of toast and just eat her up. And like, of course I did. Um, but I was replaying that night as I drove, and I flew right past my exit. It was not like me at all. I made that drive dozens of times that semester alone, but a hundred more times going back to driver's ed. But for some reason, I had missed all those visual cues that I usually picked up on. And I realized it wasn't because I didn't see them, it was that I couldn't. And right then the light bulb went off. I couldn't ignore the fact that my eyesight had been failing for the past few months. And I knew I had to go to the eye doctor. Like, ugh, fuck. I hate going to the doctor. But, Lainey and I were still in this sort of prowling around sex kitten phase. And so we decided to make a day of it. We went to the eye doctor, and I was jazzed. I was like, cool, we'll get this done and then go and have some fun. But when the doctor looked in my eyes, she moved that little robot owl thing to the side and looked at me and said, "You need to go to the hospital right now." Uh, who needs to what, where? No, like dry Sahara Desert crotch, nothing sexy about that. I was paralyzed. But Lainey took my hand and she held it on the drive to the hospital and until I was admitted, and there was a parade of doctors that went by, and they were all like, coming to see. And I was like, who are you and what do you want? They're like, we want to look at you, you freak. And I was like, cool, great. Uh, uh, am I a science experiment? Huh, come on. So they ran test after test. It was unbelievable. They wanted to see if I had lupus, Lyme disease, midichlorians, anything and everything under the sun that they could think of. And this went on for 2 years of just hospital visits and blood tests. Literally, they took so much blood from me, I was convinced the hospital was a front for Count Dracula. It was unbelievable. And on top of in addition to my body, the whole process drained my spirit. There was there was nothing that I could do that I loved. Everything had been taken away from me. I couldn't play volleyball, and usually I was able to track a 90-mile-an-hour serve from 50 feet away and pass it on a dime, no problem. There are university records with my name on them for what I did on the volleyball court. And then I couldn't see my own face in the mirror. It was unbelievable. I didn't feel like myself. I had no sexiness. I didn't feel sexy as hell. I just felt like hell. And I was totally dysfunctional when it came to sex. Usually, I'm like the Williams sisters, right? I'm great on my own and pretty darn good in doubles. So as I started to feel less and less like myself, the less that I could do what I loved, my relationship also started to fail. I felt like a failure. I felt like a burden. I felt like a hospital patient and not the sexy professor that I knew I was meant to be. It was a huge bummer. Lainey started to feel rejected because of the way that I couldn't respond to her sexually. She would touch me in all the same ways. Going back to that first night, she has a move where she runs her hands up my thighs and like holds onto my hips. Oh my gosh, it would drive me crazy. And she would try to do that, and nothing about me would respond. She would initiate morning nookie, like something to kind of get you out of bed. And I was like, no, thanks. I just need to lay here and be useless. I felt useless. How is that even possible? I had so much that I wanted to do, and then I was completely unable to do it. I couldn't even be a good girlfriend. Ugh, it was terrible. And about a year after that, after my second cataract surgery, we were Lainey and I were sitting on our couch just in complete silence. We were exhausted and completely drained and just, oh my goodness. But earlier that day, I had kind of come to an existential reckoning because my doctor said that even though my vision was still blurry, he had done the best that he could. And it was probably going to be the best that it was going to get. It would have been disappointing. But after all of that, I was glad to know kind of what my new normal was going to be. And that kind of allowed me to stop resisting and to accept my new circumstances. And in that moment, I realized my circumstances were that I'm sitting next to this person who I love, and I'm wasting all this time being angry and disappointed. She had been there the entire time, holding my hand, looking into my eyes. Even though I couldn't see those eyes, I knew that she was there. But my cataract surgery had cleared up some of the blurriness. And as we were sitting there, I looked on the coffee table, and this little protective eye patch that the doctor had given me to wear for a couple nights post-surgery was there. And I put it up to my eye and I said, "Hey, Lainey, you want to make out with the pirate? I love you, matey." And she kind of laughed, like, "You dork." And right in that moment, we were sitting close enough that I saw that grayish blue. And I was glad to have put a spark in those eyes and like make her laugh. It made me feel so good. It made me feel like me again. And in that moment, I knew I couldn't let that feeling go. I told her, "Babe, I can see your eyes." And we were like, "Oh shit," like a little bit of celebration, a few tears, I'm not gonna lie to you. Um, but I knew I had to reconnect with her. I asked her to be my big spoon, and we just kind of laid there for a second, and our heartbeats synced up. And it was so wonderful. I felt like I could feel her again. I had felt so many negative things that it was so nice to just be and to feel. I could feel her heartbeat in all the places that our skin touched. And I just sat there and felt her. And I felt us. And I felt like me again. I felt some sort of sexiness. And I turned around to face her and we just started to kiss. And, she rubbed my arms and it felt so good to feel this new sensation. All of my senses had been compensating for my lack of vision. And oh my goodness, the new sensory input set my brain on fire. I could feel the muscle contractions in her legs as I went down on her. It was like, oh my goodness, I could feel what I was doing to her. And it was wonderful. Oh my gosh. I could feel her diaphragm as her breath would quicken or slow down. Oh, and it was just so luscious and cathartic to go through that experience. And I I had a new appreciation almost for how my new life could be. And I knew that I could be sexual and I knew that I could tap into all of those new ways of interacting with my world. And, plus now I'm an X-Men and my superpower is ESSP.